Well, Matt, it seems like your girlfriend has struck again. Clara has invaded the Apex Legends tournament and downloaded hacks to all of the pro players.
I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
Me too. I mean, she's really stepped up her game. You know, Clara, she went from just deploying little hacks on some lowly streamer on Twitch to invading an entire Apex Legends pro scene tournament. This has got to be one of the biggest cheating disasters in terms of like its actual impact.
I wouldn't even consider it a cheating scandal. It's more of a security scandal than anything else.
Yeah. That's a good way to frame it. So for people who are like, what are you guys talking about? Welcome to the Level With Me podcast, by the way. For people who are wondering what we're talking about, it's been all over the news. Apex Legends was conducting a fairly large tournament, I think, for the competitive scene. All the best players were there. And all of a sudden, one of the more prominent players who's streaming the tournament and stuff, his screen pops up with a little cheat window. And all of a sudden, he can see everybody during the tournament. And this wasn't just him. I believe it got rolled out to a few.
There were multiple. Some were getting aim hacks and everything. Yeah. See people through walls.
It basically exploded the tournament. I believe the tournament's been canceled at this point or delayed indefinitely, whatever, you know. It's people are pointing fingers. Some people were suggesting that it was easy anti-cheat. Easy anti-cheat tweeted for the first time in like 5 years, and they're like, our system is fine. This was not the culprit. People, of course, are pointing at Respawn and EA because there's been rampant cheating throughout Apex for a long time, and they haven't been able to get on top of it. But this could be the end of competitive Apex to a degree, right? I mean,
well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but yes, if you instill a sense of doubt in the integrity of any competitive sport, then that's going to hurt its longevity, and that could happen here. I don't think it's going to go away entirely, though. But yeah, this is massive. I just don't understand how when someone is playing live in a tournament, can then somehow download or upload hacks to their PCs or something. Did they go into any detail on like what actually occurred?
So we don't have any actual facts in terms of digging into how this occurred. And I imagine we probably won't, because if it's an exploit that's easy to get into, replicate, they don't want to tell people how to do it.
Right, true.
But online, they've been saying it's an RCE, remote code execution. But then there's other people saying I know. I really don't know. And then the other thing is people are saying like they think it could have been an inside job. There could have been help on the inside, somebody deploying this stuff to the computers for the tournament or something. I don't know, but it's not wild. Good. It's really
not
bad.
Good at all. Right.
And it's terrible look for EA and Respawn, because players have been, our friend Brandon has been very vocal about the Apex scene for a long time. Cheating. But he's not wrong. A lot of other players have been pretty vocal about the situation with Apex. And it sucks because cracking down on cheating is a lot of work, a lot of effort, and especially if...
It's a never-ending war against cheaters.
We're in the middle of firing off tons of people from all these game companies, so finding the extra resources to put towards anti-cheat stuff, not a good time. So it happens right in the middle of all these layoffs and now this massive cheating scandal that explodes a big tournament. It's not good. We've had competitive gaming for a long time, but I can't remember any sort of problem like this. There's been issues where pro players have tried to sneak in cheats themselves, but this does not appear to be a pro player bringing in their own cheats, but instead somebody remotely deploying cheats on a bunch of player screens. I wonder if the intention was to frame them.
Maybe, and I know some people were saying, or maybe they're just cheating and they're trying to make it seem like they're like, oh, I have hacks now. It's like, I believe a few of the people that had it happen to them were like champions at LAN. Like they won multiple times at LAN. So unless they were somehow able to do it there undetected, which is very, very unlikely. I think this was this was them legitimately just something happened to their PC and they,
Yeah, and people pointed out a few interesting things, which was like, if they had installed the cheats, it shouldn't have been picked up by some of their recording software overlay stuff, or there's a few other things there. And also, like, why would a bunch of pro players all of a sudden have all the same stuff happen to them? Did they all just accidentally hit their display cheats button? Whoopsies. Probably not.
Yeah.
And it seems like, generally speaking, like Reddit would be the first place to call out somebody for cheating if they deserved it. And it seems for the most part that people are in agreement that these guys were not cheating, that the cheats got deployed on their computers. But
it's insane.
It's pretty wild, man. It's disappointing because I like Apex as like a brand, as a franchise. I'm glad they broke into the Royale scene and changed it up in an interesting way, but they have just like neglected that huge portion of the game forever. And it's hard to know how much it is negligence on their part and how much it is just this crazy hacking community that's just got like Respawn in their targets, like they've gone after the Titanfall thing forever. It's like, did somebody at Respawn insult somebody's mother or something? What is happening over there? That poor company is just getting blasted by hackers.
Their ancestors slapped a witch, 200 years ago, and they cast a curse on that was stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, but it does show you just how much power cheating and hacking community can have over games. And it sucks because a lot of these people doing it are almost certainly gamers themselves. So it's sort of this cannibalistic environment we've created where we're just eating ourselves. It's like, this is why we can't have good games, guys, because we destroy them. Like, come on.
And the funny thing is, and this goes into the mentality of cheaters too, right? Like, if cheaters only went against cheaters, they wouldn't have any fun anymore, probably, right? So, you create this scenario where you demoralize a game community to the point where no one wants to play anymore. A lot of people complain about Escape from Tarkov has a big cheater problem. It's like, if everyone's left and all there's cheaters that are left, like, you're not going to want to cheat anymore because you're not going to want to play the game anymore. It wouldn't be fun for you either.
Yeah. It's, and it sucks because, I mean, even if less than 1% of the people playing are cheating, but as long as those cheats are unregulated or not really well policed, they can still ruin it for everybody else involved.
So if it's high would be like a 1%, right? But if you've got 100 people in a battle royale and there's 1% chance that's one of them, that means like one of them's gonna be a cheater.
Yeah. Right. And if the guy in the top, in the top 3 players every match is cheating, it kind of messes up the whole experience.
No, I don't think it's 1%. I hope it's not.
Oh, I think it's probably higher than that.
You think so?
It's hard to say because, that the guy who did the deep dive in the Tarkov cheating thing said that about 1 in 3 players from his finding looked like they're cheating. And then, I forget the other there was another content creator who sort of fed off of that information and interviewed an anti-cheat company that's really getting into the data, and they sort of confirmed that around 1 in 3 metric for certain games. And I was like, what? Are using
1 in 3?
Yeah, are using some sort of cheat, whether it's like full, like most aren't using full on God mode cheats, but are using like some sort of aim assist type stuff that's much harder to detect.
Man, there's going to be so much money made from someone who can somehow create like essentially the LAN community vibe where you for a fact that no one is cheating and you can just enjoy the game for what it is. If they can somehow figure that out, because that's horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, one of them is to just
LAN parties,
pump more money into anti-cheat stuff. I heard a developer talk about this in length, which was they call it, I think, sort of the Swiss cheese approach, which is like every anti-cheat layer has holes in it. It'll stop like 70, 80, 90% of the cheat attempts to get through, but 10% will get through, 20% will get through. You have the next layer behind it, which is a different type of anti-cheat solution. That'll stop more. Eventually, if you layer enough of them on top of each other, whether it's your own proprietary anti-cheat, easy anti-cheat, some sort of like algorithm AI type cheat that can detect stuff. Eventually you can deal with like 99% of the problems, but it's a lot of work. It's
a lot of work.
It's expensive. You got to stay on top of it. It's a arms race, a never-ending arms race between the cheat companies that are trying to outdo. They're figuring out what's getting detected on their cheats, and they're updating it so they don't get detected anymore. They're using AIs now to make undetectable cheats and all this crazy stuff. It's getting bad, man. It's getting bad.
Single player games, here it come.
Yeah, and Jason says, the Ring Zero anti-cheat stuff, but yeah. So one of the most effective ways to try and root out people using cheat software on their computer is to have kernel level anti-cheat stuff, but then it gives the devs this crazy amount of access to your computer. And I believe a bunch of games already have that out there, but it's like
EA does.
Yeah.
No, so Apex has kernel.
Does it? Okay.
I'm not 100% certain, but the reason why Riot gets grief for their kernel anti-cheat is that it's always on. But when you have easy anti-cheat, it's only on when the game is up.
Yeah. And I guess some people were saying that there was an exploit within the way they wrote it for Apex or something like that. And maybe that's how the remote code execution attack occurred.
It's so insane when you think about it, though. It's insane that that's happened.
I hate the idea that playing a game opens you up to way more vulnerabilities for people who are like, well, I understand how they built the anti-cheat and I can use that to deploy software on your computer.
Yeah.
Kind of alarming.
Very alarming.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that could take advantage of this that just aren't. I think there's a lot of people that know how to do it, could take advantage of it, exploit it. And there's just a small percentage of them that are actually like, well, let's blow up the world, you know? And they did.
I want to watch it burn.
So what you been playing, man? Well, hang on. Before we get into games, I just want to say welcome to the Level With Me podcast. If you guys would like to support our podcast, we have a Patreon linked in the video description. We appreciate all our Patreon members. One of the benefits of the Patreon members is you get to come by and watch us record the podcast live, interact with us on chat, and also stick around for after the recording to hear how we really feel about things. We get to listen
it gets saucy.
Yeah, Matimio's devious adventures and stuff. He's got a whole section that is, let's just say, not safe for work, you know.
All right, maybe not that.
Yeah. Anyway,
don't lie to them.
We're gonna create some adventures for you, Matt.
All right,
and then you can talk about them. Anyway, if you guys want to support the podcast, we appreciate it. Otherwise, just dropping by, subscribing, hitting that like button, all that stuff. It certainly helps us out. Now, Matt, I see you've been playing quite a few things.
I have, yes. So, do you want to talk about the good or the bad and the bad?
I mean, let's. I don't know. Dealer's choice, man.
All right, so I do have to mention, Rainbow Six Siege is new season, year 9 came out, and
those
Siege is
player
back.
Numbers, man.
Siege is back.
Yeah, I'm like, what game is this topping the Steam charts over here? Rainbow Six? What is this?
What is this? So apparently, there's a glitch right now where the game isn't closing properly, where someone will leave and it will still register that they're playing. And so that number might be a little bit higher than it should.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, that could be true. I don't know. I haven't looked deeply into it. But if it is legitimate, they reached their highest concurrent player count ever on Steam concurrently.
That is wild.
9 years later. And you might think, how and why? So what they've done is that they're going back to their roots to some extent, where it's, for the longest time, it was the 1.5 times meta. For a couple years, they were having that, and now they're reverting back to everyone has either an ACOG or a red dot, and that just alone has done, I think, a lot to bring back a lot of folks that were kind of missing that more nostalgia experience. They also increased the time it takes to aim down sight, and boy, it is slow now. You can increase it by using iron sights, which I think is a really unique way of going about it. Iron sights in most games usually are worthless because why would you ever use them? There's big metal in front of you and it's really hard to see. But in this, it actually allows you to ADS slightly faster. You can use, I believe, a few other attachments. I know that the red dot or the laser sight also increases your aim down sight speed. But even then, even if you have all those attachments, aiming down sight still takes longer than it did before. Yeah. So it is significantly slower. So you're going to have to be aimed down sight if you want to enter into a room. You can't just run in and take people out with your precision, accuracy.
Yeah, they turn it less into the sort of reaction shooter and more of a anticipating planning
shooter. Dare I
shooter.
say tactical game that they advertise?
God. You set up a defense and then somebody has to try and poke and prod at that defense until they find a weakness? My gosh.
Yeah. I played it. I've only played one night of it, and I really enjoyed my time. It's not going to get me back to play every single day. It's still Rainbow Six Siege at the end of the day.
You've put your time in.
I put my time into it. Yeah, yeah. But it's just great to see that they're recognizing mistakes they've made along the way, and they're taking the necessary steps to try and bring back that slower. It's still fast paced. You're not playing squad or ready or not or anything like that,
and it's not like
still sprints around.
They didn't deliver upon. It's funny when you said going back to their roots. I sort of thought about that first Rainbow Six Siege trailer, where it's dark and gritty,
really dark,
and you're sort of expecting almost like a milsim approach to raiding a house or something like that, but no, it's still diamonds,
it's still an arcade
camos
FPS
on
game.
Your assault rifles and stuff. Yeah.
But it seems like content creators are happy with it. Seems like when I talk to anyone, they're really excited about the game once again. I think at one point, Jinxie, who is like the face of Siege now, had 150,000 concurrent viewers watching him play. So
that's wild, man.
Numbers are just insane right now for the game, and
good for them. Good for them for sticking with it and doing the things the community wanted. Granted, I wasn't a fan of the franchise the whole way through, so I wasn't there day to day suffering with why don't you guys just do the thing that everybody wants? That probably was frustrating, but they're having their heyday now. It's great to see.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they can take this momentum and keep making good improvements. This next year is going to be kind of like their Operation Health, where we've talked about this before, where they're slowing things down a little bit to try to really get into the making just the core gameplay loop fun and satisfying long term.
Are they going to reduce the map number of maps in rotation or number of specialists?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, interesting.
No.
That
would be wrong.
Yeah, that would attract me back, I think, if they limited the number of maps a bit. I'm like, okay,
or you could select the maps that you specifically wanted to play on.
Yeah, that kind of thing would help.
What they do with CS,
because the maps take longer to learn because of all the nuances. They're not big, but because you can break 50 different walls in 50 different ways. Takes a while to figure out, and if they're constantly switching you around, you're like, I gotta play 8 hours a night for a month before I understand.
Pretty much, especially if you're playing casual, which is where you're going to want to learn. There's even more maps in that pool rotation.
Yeah, but transitioning a little bit. Kudos to Rainbow Six Siege, but you just made me think about another game that has tons of environmental destruction. But the maps take 3 seconds to learn, or they don't take that long to learn. Did you play Season 2, the finals?
I did, yeah. And I enjoyed my time with it, but I forgot how loose that game is at times. I don't know if it was the servers that I was on.
Yeah.
Super loosey-goosey, where you're on a rooftop, you're trying to peer down, you're like, oh, and I'm falling now. Oh, and I slipped off. Oh, and I'm not where I want to go. And I know it's because your movement is based on the server, it's not client side, it's server side, and that just really makes it loose, and I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, but it is. What do you think about the fact that you can do anything with it now? And what do you think about the glitch gun thing, where it changes things and other things?
Oh, that was really cool. I didn't actually get to use that specifically. I saved up a lot of points right before the season.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
I saved up a lot of points, and I was able to buy a bunch, and they do give a fair amount of points now. They may have made it a little bit faster, But
Yeah.
I did use the one where you can like open up a wall really quickly and it like makes like a digital wall and you can just pass through and then you can close it
That
behind
one's
you.
super cool. And
Really
dropping the extraction point down and then closing it.
Yeah.
What a cool idea. It's so neat.
So
have
really
you tried using the anti-gravity grenade on the extraction point and then the extraction point levitates in the air? So if somebody's coming to try, if you're like last ditch effort, last one alive, and you get an anti-gravity grenade on it and they're trying to extract and it keeps moving away from them, like just cool clutch plays like that with some of the weird new gadgets now.
It's neat. I unfortunately wasn't able to play with any friends, so the communication that I had with randoms wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think if I was playing with buddies, then we would have had some of those more cooler moments. But they're having fun with it, and I enjoyed what I experienced. Though the 5v5 mode was cool because it was more casual. My issue with it is that because it was more casual and there's so many people on the map, if you go against a team that's halfway competent and your team is just a bunch of snipers, it's over.
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah,
they have like 5 shields on the objective. Everyone's healing, and you literally cannot take them out.
Yeah, it's funny how going from a 3-person team to a 5-person team is like broke the meta completely.
Yeah, completely broke the meta. Pretty much.
It's neat, but it was funny. We had, when I was playing it too, similar experience of just like, there's 5 heavies and they've all got all their shields down and like a few of them have sledgehammers. So if you even try and get on that platform, forget about it.
Smacking.
Yeah. And if the other team can't build up the momentum, it's just forget it. Like 2 people attacking that, you're not going to get through it. They have enough shields to heal themselves. You throw 1 medium into 4 heavies and he's just healing them all up. It's like with full shield coverage.
They've made a bunch of changes that I wasn't expecting. Like reviving now, if you revive with a paddle, it will go off, but it won't instantly revive the person. They'll kind of go through like this little animation where their character is being recreated.
It's
again
interesting because you can get ready to drop them. If somebody goes in for that clutch revive and you're like, well, it's kind of clutch. You really have to secure the area.
They're not having to then just sit there reviving, but it's very obvious when and how they're going to revive.
When I saw that, it kind of made me chuckle a little because every other game, like Battlefield with the defibs, is like you're up and people are running instantly. Yeah. Like that is really unrealistic and kind of silly if you think about it. But we've all just
they have slowed it down though.
Yeah, a little, but we've all just kind of accepted that as the revive mechanic in shooters forever, and all of a sudden this more off the wall crazy game has got a slow revive and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that kind of would make sense if you were bringing somebody back to the life. It might take a little bit longer. It'd be interesting to see if they do that in some more games or if they just keep it super casual and arcadey.
I think it depends from game to game.
Yeah. So speaking of realistic healing mechanics, did you get a chance to play Gray Zone in a early access thing?
No, I was a weenie and I wasn't a cool kid, so I didn't have a chance. Well,
people are talking about it. It's interesting to watch everybody's videos on it and see the reaction from the community.
A lot of people are accusing it of being a fake game.
I don't think they're accusing it anymore. Is that still going on?
I've been seeing a lot of these YouTubers are like, it's real and it's not fake. I'm like, was there any doubt that it was?
Yeah. There was a lot of, it happened because of the day before. And we knew this was going to happen so now
every game that looks somewhat promising, people are like, oh, it's got to be fake.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly.
Damn, I didn't realize it had done that much damage.
What the community has done. Yeah, no, it sucks. As soon as the day before it came out, there's all these posts by indie devs who were like, great, can't wait to see the incoming hate on any project that looks good. But it wasn't so much hate. It was just a huge amount of skepticism, which is fine as long as you give the devs a chance to prove themselves before you're like, this game's fake, and it was mostly just because they hadn't proven themselves in the PC or in the non-mobile realm, it's funny that they jumped to fake so quickly because even though I'm not a big mobile game player, apparently their mobile games were really well known and really well liked. So for them to say like, oh, this is a fake game, it's like, why would a fairly well-established mobile game developer risk their entire reputation by making some shitty cash grab?
I mean, EA's pretty good at tarnishing their reputation. Am I right, boys?
I mean, yeah. Oh God, EA, we love them.
So you had a chance to actually play the game yourself.
Yeah, I would visually. I don't even know how they're doing some of the things in the game. It's really impressive, and it scratched an itch that I didn't know I had, which was this just sort of hyper realistic looking milsim environment, because all the milsim games
slowly moving around and
kind of look like garbage. A lot of them do.
No, they do. They do.
Yeah,
because
they put like a little
indie games.
Garbage filter over the whole thing, and it's yeah. So seeing one that looks so incredibly pristine and realistic was sort of like a breath of fresh air. I was like, wow, it's as if the Battlefield art team approached a milsim game, and that's what looks like. It looks really good. The character animations are fantastic too. So everybody was Jason's in chat right now, and he's criticizing the way that the guy holds his gun up real high like that, which did look kind of awkward. It looked like they might have messed up some of the skeletal positions or something. But the animations, when people are peeking corners and moving around tactically, are really, really clean. It's not something that I normally notice or pay that much attention to, but because you have to move so methodically and sort of weave your way through these little alleys and these jungle towns, you're noticing your teammates sort of peeking and moving around, and all their movements are just really realistic. It looks like an actual tactical unit moving around and moving in the ways that they would. So I think they've nailed it from the visual side of things. The one area I didn't get to test was PvP. Well, not one area, many areas I didn't get to test, but one of the major areas that everybody wants to know about is PvP. So we only got to do a PvE mission, and the AI were competent in it for sure. And they said a lot of the other teams went down. I was playing with like Drewski and Karmakut, so they were like the milsim guys. So it wasn't.
Oh yeah, Drewski goes all in on that.
It wasn't really much of an issue. Everybody was calling out their targets, and it was good. But I could see it being challenging for the average gamer, and then on top of that, if you mix in a random PvP encounter on top of having to worry about those, then stuff could get crazy.
It's tough to find that balance for the AI and the PvP because like in Tarkov, which is this game is going to get compared to it, so I'm going to make the comparison myself.
Yeah,
where you'll have scavs, and sometimes the scavs miss every shot and they give you plenty of opportunity, and then sometimes you'll be up close and they'll one tap your ass. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to make sure that certain enemy encounters feel fair, while other encounters, where if you go against a boss in Tarkov, like you round the corner and they just drop you instantly, and you're like, oh cool. It's because when you're going against a player, it's like, oh, he saw me, I got unlucky. But if it's against an AI, there's always this sense of it feels very cheap, because you know that they just aimbotted you down.
Yeah, you're not like, right? Good shot, GG, bro.
Right. It's like, oh, cool, I just didn't cheese this boss. And so I'm really hopeful that they can maybe find a nice balance where if there is some harder engagements, it just feels like a nice back and forth where you're actually having some give and take. From
what I saw so far, it seems like your armor functions realistically, so you can take a bunch of shots to the chest and still stand up and return fire. Your helmet will deflect small caliber rounds. I don't know if the AI are programmed to not say shoot you in the face and instant kill you or something. Yeah. But none of us went down instantly, but a lot of us took shots and had to like duck behind cover and bandage up.
Heal up, and
somebody else took that angle. So
how did the weapons feel?
It's hard to judge because their optics were really crappy.
Okay.
So when you have a bad optic on a well-balanced gun, it almost doesn't matter, because you're staring through a little pee hole. It's like this tiny little section of your screen, and you're trying to control recoil, but you lose your shot every time the gun kicks a little because you're staring through a tiny little thing.
It's really annoying.
Yeah. I don't like the way that they render optics in the game right now. I think their optics need a lot of work. Just about everybody playing was like, yeah, these optics suck.
Okay. Well, at least they got the feedback.
Yeah, it's hard for me to comment on the weapons because of some of the optics and some of the performance issues that people were running into. I didn't see the performance issues on the IGN trailer, so I believe it's just some sort of little setting that they screwed up for the build that we were playing, but there was a bunch of hiccups while we were playing, and that kind of threw things off a little bit. So it was hard to get a really high FPS dialed in feeling for the gunplay, because you really do need a high FPS to feel like a low latency reaction time from recoil and stuff.
Because if you're at like 45 FPS, it's going to feel terrible no matter how good the weapons perform. Yeah.
I do have faith that they can dial it in based on how early this build was that they're showing us. Okay. So I got faith that they can probably get the performance to a good spot. One thing I was concerned about, and I would ask them a bunch, was how are you guys going to create graphical parity? Because the visuals in the game are insane, and I'm playing it on like a 4090.
With bushes and people hiding in bushes.
Yeah. Is somebody going to be able to turn that down? Is somebody on a 1080 going to turn that down to like 0 foliage? And then all of a sudden,
and then you're crawling through the weeds like no one can see me, and they're just like, "Who's this asshole?"
The devs did reassure me that there was going to be like no way to sort of turn off some of that stuff to a level that would give somebody an advantage. But I am concerned because people do find little ways of getting around that.
I'm sure there will be some ways. Let's be honest. They're not going to be able to fix it entirely because that's just graphical fidelity. It's just part that we kind of have to live with it, but. Hopefully big major bushes and things like that will never be able to be turned completely off.
Yeah. I'm encouraged by the game. It's in a pre-alpha or alpha state, whatever the build was that they showed us. So in its current state, it's not something that would be like, yeah, you'll hop in and have fun. No, it's going to be a bit laggy and janky, but the world that they've designed, the always on bases, is such a crazy concept where you're not loading back into a mission menu and then picking your next mission and then loading into a level. It's like, here's this server.
It's a lot like an MMO.
Yeah. You got 48 players in the server. Some of them might be back in their bases trading and upgrading gear. Some of them might be out in the field and you might run into them. And 2/3 of the server are potential hostiles to you, right?
Now, is it 48 total? So
I believe so. So that's what, 16?
So it's not 48, 48, 48. It's...
Yeah, I think that's 16, 16, 16, right? 16 times 3? Are you good at math? Do it, Matt.
No, I'm terrible at math. I'm just going to try. I'm going to nod my head and say that, yeah, you're right.
16. Okay, so 16 per 3 teams. So I don't know if it's going to be where like you choose a faction and then that's forever your faction. Hopefully they don't do it that way so you can play with friends. But I think you maybe pick a faction when you join a server and then you can...
I thought I remember them saying that it was... But I could be wrong. That like you pick your faction and you can only play with your faction.
I don't. It's like how Planetside did it, and it's fine and all, but also annoying when you're like, oh, what faction do you play for? Oh, you're not on my faction.
You're not the venue.
I guess we'll never play together. Maybe I'll see you on the battlefield and shoot you.
Also, with the 48 players, that really makes me feel because the map is quite large. Yes,
huge. Yeah. It's not just the scale, but if you combine the scale with the fact that it's a huge amount of dense foliage. Now, all of a sudden, a giant field, if it's covered with trees, I mean, that map is dense and complex, and you're not going to see as many players going through there.
So I've based off of that giant map and 48 total with what, you said 6. So 15 of your teammates are, you can't, I guess you could take them out, but that's you going against the grain there. Yeah. I feel like that should give the players or people who are excited about it a good idea that this is not necessarily going to be a PvP game, that this is going to have PvP intermixed, but it's going to be more focused on your squad and going to AI missions. And there might be some PvP happening every once in a while. Maybe there'll be an area where people go as like a community, like, oh, this is the PvP zone. But from the size of that map and only 48 players total, that seems like it might be a little sparse.
Yeah, I have a feeling, and this again wasn't really detailed too much, but they did mention having like missions that were going to attract like sort of a hotspot, right? Where, hey, there's going to be some cargo payload here that you can intercept. Get high level items. I'm sort of paraphrasing a lot of what they said, so I don't know if there's going to be a cargo payload or something, but there'll be mission hotspots. So sure, if you're just new in the game, maybe you take some low-level missions. You're kind of on the outskirts. The odds of you running into somebody are fairly low.
Pretty low.
You probably play an hour or two without having too many major PvP engagements that are going to throw you around. But if you're like hardcore and you've been playing a bunch, now you're probably looking for those hot drops. And the other players are going to look for
kind of a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, right. It gives you the
Tarkov,
freedom.
like if you're new, oh boy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what map you're on. Like there are some maps that are more new player friendly in terms of their complexity, and like the loot there is not as good. So like the people that are going after that really good loot are going to be better. So they're going to go to another map. But you're still in it with everyone else, and you get just dunked on. And so having it be a little bit more sparse at the start, where you're just kind of around the fringe, and then you kind of maybe get closer to the middle, is where things get more action packed.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Or if you just had a couple of bad games going for some hot drop spots, and you're like, man, I don't want to get dunked on right now. Some guy was just camping the water tower or something, and then you can go run some side missions, build up your gear, your money, whatever you need to, and not have to feel so bad about getting like stomped on all the time going into the hot zones.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Graphically, just 10 out of 10. Can't wait. Looks insane. Gameplay wise, excited for it. I think they know what they're doing for the most part, and even if the game's not fully there with some of the optics stuff, I think they've got good feedback there, and they're listening to it.
That's cool. I just want to point out really quickly for all of our viewers that in our notes here, we take little notes so that we're somewhat prepared for the stream and for the podcast. And you have Gray Zone Waffle as the thing you wanted to talk about. Not Gray Zone Warfare, but Waffle.
Yeah, can we stop like adding warfare to the end of games? I'm just sick of it. Just Gray Zone Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare,
Call of Duty Modern Warzone, War Zones.
Yeah, I'm just tired of it. I'm in this space genre, everything is star something, and I just can't take it anymore. I'm just like, come on, think of something else. Something Star without Citizen, Star
Starcraft,
Star Trek, Star Wars, Starfield. Like, it's just never ending.
Yeah.
I just want, same in FPS genre. I'm like, give me a break with the warfare stuff. Just call it. It could have just been Gray Zone. That would have been cooler.
It's just got to be marketing.
It's like
easy.
This is the Facebook version of FPS game naming. You know, the Facebook.
The Facebook.
That's what it was called when it first came out.
I did not know that. I forgot.
Yeah.
Another game that I think you've played that is an extraction FPS is I was able to play the beta for it. Was Level 0 Extraction, I think.
Yeah.
And so the way that it's described sounds awesome. Sounds really cool. You go in, you're a mercenary. Things went poorly where humans were experimenting with human
like mercenary is
genomes.
too strong of a word
No.
for what
Let me finish.
Is that how it's described as a mercenary?
No,
Okay.
So you're human. They were experimenting on like alien and humans' DNA, and they were splicing them together, and then things went really badly. As one does. You know, you're on like an alien planet or something like that, and things go badly, and then aliens like show up, or that's what they were experimenting on. And they get loose, right?
Yeah.
And so the game premise is that you're a mercenary. They straight up say you're a mercenary going in, trying to get the data and resources from those experiments to take them out, so that you can make some money and whatever. So that's the premise, and it's a PvP VE game where it's other players versus you. And your job is to go in and get loot and things like that, like other extractions, and then try to take it out. But the twist on it is that there's also player aliens going around the map trying to stop you and take you down. So it's like kind of a cool little asymmetric. And it's got some horror elements too, where it's very dark and you have like a flashlight. But the problem I have with it, and maybe other people don't, because I was watching some other streamers that really enjoyed it, is that they specifically call you a mercenary, and you come in with a dart.
With a dart. I didn't realize that mercenary was in the briefing there, because you do not. The game doesn't seem like it's built around a mercenary premise where one, you come in with almost no gear. And you're just like, hey, how about I hit you with a wrench, And you're like, am I supposed to kill aliens with this, let alone other players? And then like, as you upgrade, you're like, here's a nail gun. You're like, a nail gun? How about something that shoots like bullets at people? That'd be great. Yeah. And then on top of that, to extract, you have to meet extraction quotas. And I'm like, if you're a mercenary, you should be able to extract just if you want to, right?
Yeah.
You're not the guys that send you in are like, what? You didn't kill the target.
Like a job. It's a job, but it's like I can peace out whenever I want. I don't have to be here.
Yeah.
It does seem like it's got some conflicting the messaging, or I
wasn't bothered with that because all you do is just pretend that the premise is something else, right? Oh, we're
right.
It's like, what was that other one where you're sort of inmates and you get sent down to those tunnels and you have
GTFO.
GTFO, right? You could just say it's something like that, right? Where you're sent down to get supplies, you're in some weird Arctic research facility and you're running out of power or whatever. You're sending in the recruits to go get stuff and something like that. Yeah, the mercenary angle doesn't totally fit even the visual style, the vibe
that they're going for. I heard that the reason why the game plays the way that it does right now is that originally it was called Level 0, not Extraction, because it was going to be a asymmetric horror game where it was going to be just basically you're trying to survive against the aliens, right?
Yeah.
And that I could see that based off of the gameplay, because it's the main focus, at least early on, is not fighting other players. It's just trying to survive against these monsters, and the way that you fight them is not with your weapon. You fight it with light, with flares, and you try to bait them into a room so that, like, because they're trying to take you down, you bait them in a room, you turn on the lights, and it destroys them. They don't actually die because they come back later, but yeah.
And I think that's just a gameplay mechanic where they can respawn. I think within the game universe, you're supposed to be killing them, and they just more are coming to kill you.
Good point. Yes.
I do like the idea of this, and it's something that that other game that's in production, Beautiful Light, is working on too, where
that game looks really cool.
Where players can play the bad guy, creepy zombie things that jump around and run around the map. I think it's a fun mechanic. I've always enjoyed playing the creepy crawly guy that comes around and like ambushes somebody and bites their head off. It's very fun.
Dead by Daylight is literally, that's the entire gameplay loop.
Yeah, it's great in multiplayer when you see the other people panicking and stuff and running around. You're like, oh man, I'm the guy that's like they're afraid of. This is fantastic. So it's I don't know if
little fantasy of yours.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't think about that?
I think hopefully a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun in video games. I enjoy it. It takes me back to my AVP 2 days, Alien vs Predator 2, where you could play the aliens and crawl underneath bridges and then come up and bite somebody from behind. You know, like all that kind of stuff was really fun. I got a kick out of it. So I do like that in Level 0. I think it was hard for me to judge when I played it because we just played one map. The map was kind of small and I didn't get enough time playing the aliens to see what their progression was like. And so we figured out how to deal with the aliens pretty quickly, but also I felt like it was because the people playing them didn't quite know how to operate them well. So I was like, maybe they're a lot better if they get their progression tree down and they're starting to level up their abilities and really take us down. But because everybody was sort of new, the FPS mechanics were easy to learn and the alien mechanics were still sort of, oh, I can birth an egg. I didn't realize that, all these kind of weird mechanics that you have to learn. But I do like the idea of it a lot. I didn't get to play enough of it.
I liked it too, but I think it needs a lot more time in the oven, a significant amount more time, because the premise is neat, but execution and definitely messaging to the players about like what this game is actually kind of going for, I think would also help, because I was not expecting it to be what it was at the beginning. Yeah. Because it's more of just a survival game of just trying to stay away from the aliens.
Yeah. I do like the light mechanics though, where you're of course in the future every battery lasts 5 seconds.
Like 2 seconds, yeah.
Let me turn on my flashlight for 5 seconds.
And it's gone.
Yeah. Gosh, that mechanic is just gonna be in games forever, for whatever.
Literally.
It's gonna be the year 3000 and we will have discovered indefinite energy.
You just got this like crank over here trying to come on, battery, come on.
Yeah. And everybody's still going to be using some Duracell that's like on its last percentage of power.
Did you charge it, John, when we left? Yes, I did. Of course I did.
High-tech mercenaries can't even get a flashlight that lasts a minute. Always cracks me up in those games, but It's great for building tension, man. When you're like, oh, it is. Man. Yeah, and when all the lights go out, and then you hear the little pitter patter of. Did an alien sack get you? One of the eggs?
Yes. Yeah. I don't. That's an interesting way of phrasing it. An alien egg.
Egg sack, whatever you want to call it.
Right? Did an alien sack get you? Yes. That was how you said it. I'm just rephrasing.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Should I jump into the Star Citizen news? It's why Jason is in chat here. He was upset with our representation of the last coverage of Star Citizen. We can either do Star Citizen or Star Wars. What did Star Wars do? Oh, so yeah, Star Wars, yeah.
The Star Wars
the good
Battlefront?
news. Yeah, let's do Star Wars. I'm excited now. I'm excited to talk about this dumpster fire.
I'm excited for the drama. So
God,
Star
why
Wars
is it fun to hate on EA? They just screw up all the time.
They had their collection, not a collector's edition, but there was a Star Wars Battlefront collection that released, and it was
the classic Battlefront.
The original classic Battlefronts, and it was 1 and 2, and they released this last week, and I played it early. I had a chance. I got an early copy, which was lovely. Thank them for that. But I played the single player because the servers weren't online, and it was fun. It was like, oh man, this is really cool, right? Like reliving that. I didn't play it a lot when I was younger, but it was cool to go back and experience Battlefront. But as soon as the servers came online, and I say that online,
as soon as the game launched,
as soon as the game launched. It turned into a disaster.
Yeah.
Originally, there was only 3 servers available, and clearly there was a lot more desire than 3 servers. And if you got into those servers, I eventually got into one. Couldn't spawn. Just literally could not. Restarted the game. Went back to the single player. Did a couple more missions there. Went back a couple hours later and tried to play again. And there were more servers, but once again, tons of lag. Could finally spawn. Tons of lag, could not actually really reliably even take anyone out, and it was a mess. What is the name of the company that did this remaster? Apparently, they don't have
that's
the
what
best
I'm trying to look
record.
up right now, because they made a statement about it, and the statement was so ridiculous. It was something like, we had a major server technical malfunction or something like that on the same day of our launch. And you're like, sure you did. And those reports of you guys just deciding to only spin up 3 servers just are not, that's not what happened at all. Aspire Interactive. Okay.
Aspire. No,
Aspire.
It's called Aspire. It's just
Aspire.
spelled different.
Yeah, it's spelled weird. Okay, Aspire. Yeah, so they got kicked off of the KOTOR remake because of their history with the past ones, and they were like, well, this is way too good of a franchise to let you guys handle it. You screwed up the last stuff, and I don't even know why they're a company at this point. I mean, my God.
I mean, I don't want companies. I don't want, because it's people working at those companies. I don't want those people's jobs to be, no longer there. But either they just didn't have the right resources. The thing is I don't understand why they felt the need to release it in this state.
Also,
I
don't think people knew about
this game.
$35, I believe.
Yeah, it's $35. Yeah,
so that's not cheap for an ancient game. A game where you can see the polygons. They are big and in your face. Like
I think it's like 50 gigs too, because they upscaled it and they didn't compress it at all.
It's insanity, honestly. Yeah. You're like, wow, this is how not to do a remaster of something.
What I don't understand is that, like, I think most people didn't even know that this was going to be a thing. And because I think they just announced it like a month ago or something like that, right? It's like, why? Okay, that's fine. But why are you trying to push this out?
Yeah.
Like, if all they had to do.
I think they put in the effort that they thought it was going to get, and they grossly miscalculated that there's a lot of people that like the original Battlefront games. And that this was going to be like a big nostalgia trip for people. So they're like, I don't know, put Tim and Bob on it, and give them 3 weeks.
Damn it, Tim.
Yeah. And those guys who are probably, and this is the thing I want to say, is a lot of the devs that worked on it, they were probably competent. They were probably just given some crazy timeline that was like, you got 3 weeks to port this whole thing. And they're like, well, we don't have time to like compile and remake the textures nicely. We're just going to do it instantly. It's like I played the Another remaster of a Star Wars game, Dark. What the heck is it? It's like the Doom era, Dark Forces, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called, Dark Forces. They by hand repainted all the like textures so that they could be upscaled nicely, and like they took their time with it. Yeah, Dark Forces. Thank you, Jason. And they took their time with it. And it looked great, and it was a great remaster of the original. And they preserved the original styling, but they sort of upscaled it in a way that was still pleasing on a high resolution monitor, but it still looked like the original game. And you could tell that they cared about
they took their time,
the product, but they were given their time. They were given time to do it. And this other one is just like, yeah,
it was quite literally unplayable. I tried multiple times to join servers, and eventually I was able to get into a lobby, but people were quite literally just teleporting. You would think you would get like a kill, but you didn't know when it happened. I got like 5 kills by the end. Also, they didn't accommodate for the player size, so like it's I think 64, and the original I think had 32. So you would have these TDM matches that would last for 5 minutes, and that was it. It would be over in the blink of an eye, or even less than that, because they hadn't accommodated for the higher player count. I just don't get why they felt the need to push this out so quickly.
They probably made money with it still.
Probably.
Yeah, and they're just like, well, whatever, we'll just eat that one and on to the next thing, on to the next IP that we
I think it was sitting at overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah. Some people were saying that they didn't have any issues with it on different platforms.
Well, that's good.
So I don't want to say that everybody had the same experience. Apparently, some people were able to get on and play just fine.
And enjoy. That's good.
But the amount of negativity it got on Steam, and from what I read and heard from people, was that it was pretty bad. But
yeah,
I think maybe that also it could have been harder for the Steam version than some of the other. Because I think it came out on Switch also or something.
I was enjoying my time on the single player, the campaign.
Yeah,
it was old school, definitely very old. But I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm kind of surprised by how many people wanted to go back and play the old Battlefront. Because while I get a kick out of the single player ones, my interest in going back and playing ancient multiplayer games is far less. And
that's why people are picking this up, is because they wanted to be able to play multiplayer.
Yeah,
and to have it not work and not function is just a kick in the knee.
Yeah, it's also pretty hard to try and revive an old multiplayer game.
Yeah,
because I mean you're digging through ancient netcode and stuff, and you're just like, well, we have to preserve the way it was back then, right? If you start updating it and making the movement feel better, people are going to be all pissed off. So you have to like do everything the way it was, But that game is very old, very, very old. So
yes,
who knows what engine it? I mean, they know.
I feel bad for those players that legitimately wanted to play the multiplayer, and this was like their one chance to be able to relive those moments, and just now that it's so overwhelmingly negative, people are probably not going to come back. And it's that little brief window where there's going to be people playing is probably shrunk down even further now, because it's like, well, I'm not playing this. Why would I want to waste my time?
For sure. People aren't going to get their chance, and game preservation and history is important. And EA doesn't have a great track record of preserving it, and they'll just take things offline, and they won't make it easy for the mod community to keep things up and running and all that stuff, So it is an important thing, and it's unfortunate that it was handled this way. And
yeah,
maybe they'll do it again, but probably not, would be my guess. Probably
hard to
say. Not. Yeah,
probably not.
You want to talk about the other Star game?
Star Citizen, yes.
Star Citizen.
Hit me with it. It's gonna be exciting, right? It better be big news.
Woo! Well, the big news, the cool news, is that they've been testing patch 3.23 in the Evocati servers, and it's not all the features turned on, but it's a good amount of them. And
okay.
Well, from my report from Jason actually, and from reading online, is some stuff works, but it's mostly a giant
oh, good.
A giant thing of instability, but it is in the Evocati server. So this is the pre-testing phase. It's exciting because I don't think, for people who are not intimately familiar with Star Citizen, the scale of this patch is so massive. It is like it's just like getting a second game or something. There's so much extra content and updates to it.
What are the big things in the patch?
The map, right? Well, okay. Yeah. So what they tested, they didn't test the map yet. They tested player looting, new heads-up display, I believe new interactive, new shop terminal stuff, a bunch of new things, and I think server crash recovery is built into that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is
like they're testing server crash. That seems like a feature they've been testing this entire time.
Oh, new EVA. Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Jason. The EVA thing looks really cool. Because when you go outside in Star Citizen and then you spin 50 times and then you're like, where am I? And that's all part of old EVA. They didn't bother fixing it because they're working on 2.0, which is completely different. Now you move head first and you drift through space. So you've got that like decoupled mechanic as a player in space. You can push and pull yourself around with the tractor beam, but you can also use your EVA fuel and do little bursts of jets and get you around. It looks really cool, and the transition from zero gravity to full gravity looks really clean and sleek now.
I can't wait to see someone get using their EVA suit to fly from one planet to another slowly, constantly being refueled by someone, like, what those bike races and stuff like that, where they have to like give them food and stuff like that, but it's like that, but with like fuel, for their suit. Yeah, that's what I want.
That would
take forever.
Titillating. They just sit there. They don't have to even move. It's not like you're watching somebody swim. They just sit there. I'm moving already, so I don't need to do anything.
Slowly.
I'm going to take a nap. Yeah. So the patch is exciting. The stuff that I will say, it even irked me a little bit, but there was a recent ship. They're rolling out another ship that's, I don't know if I'd say locked behind Squadron 42, but they're rolling out some of the Squadron 42 stuff. And it's kind of there's two versions of the ship. There's a military version of the ship and a civilian version of the ship. Civilian version of the ship just went on sale. Anybody can buy it, get it in game, fly it around. You want the
buy it with in-game currency, or is it money? Money,
but eventually in-game currency. They usually
How much is it?
Maybe around 150. I don't know. I think it's around that. For a medium fighter,
$150. Like the scale of this game is so stupid in terms of.
Sorry, it's 160. I was wrong.
Oh,
160.
Thank heavens! You could literally basically buy like 3 games with that. 3 like solid games.
This is par for the course for Star Citizen. When I hear 160 for a new ship, I'm like, oh, is that it? Is that all? Only 160? That's chump change.
Star Citizen fans have been brainwashed into it. Yeah, I get it.
But so here's the thing: if you have to buy the no, you don't have to buy the ship. If there's now an in-game assignment where, like, if you complete all these challenges or something like that, then I believe you get the opportunity, or you'll get an upgrade for it. It's just basically this big, hey, if you buy this ship, you could potentially get an upgrade to an even better ship type thing. And I don't know.
Oh, baby.
I was kind of annoyed with it, to be honest, but that's most in-game events for Star Citizen I get pretty annoyed with in terms of how they get rolled out. But the good news is that we're progressing along towards a real release of 3.23, but they haven't even tested the big ticket items yet, which would be the major map and then persistent hangars coming in 3.23. I believe they are.
Jeez, that is a giant update.
Yeah, really, really massive update. Not to mention like DLSS and all that kind of stuff too are coming.
Oh,
which
sick.
is wild. Yeah. Some huge updates.
Cool.
Don't know when it's happening, but it's supposed to be this quarter. So anytime within the next 3 months. I know, right? Oh, cargo lifts won't be in 3.23. So you won't be able to put cargo into your persistent hangars from the lifts, but you can drop it off with your spaceship.
Gotcha.
This game is too complicated.
It is pretty dense.
Did you finish Masters of the Air?
Unfortunately, no. I've been so enamored with this book. I just haven't been watching shows. I know. I know. How was it? How did it end well? Is it over now?
Yeah. Incredible show. It's not too long. I think Band of Brothers goes a bit longer than Masters of the Air, but
I think I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes behind at this point.
Okay, I think it's only like 6 episodes or something. It's not too long.
I think I'm on episode 6. So
okay,
I don't know if I'm that far behind then.
Okay, very good. I think I was kind of wondering actually about the show when it started out, because the first several episodes are just these horrific bombing runs where they're just getting blasted out of the air. You're like, is the whole series just going to be them all dying every single episode,
getting wrecked? Yeah,
getting absolutely destroyed? And I mean, the Bloody 100th went through a lot more than they showed in the show. And I think they understood that to make it a good show, they had to start exploring the other narrative stuff of, the guys bailing out and having to find their way back home through, German occupied Europe and stuff. And the stories around that are pretty good. Finishes off very, really well, and then they have a documentary afterwards about the actual Bloody 100th guys.
Oh, really? Is it like a full episode?
Yeah, it's like an hour-long documentary type thing. And it's really interesting. They stayed really true to a lot of these characters and give some backstory on them. Half of them all become teachers afterwards, and you're like, oh, that's funny. But just a fantastic show. Anyone who likes World War II history or flights or any of that stuff, this is just fantastic. It's right up there. I would put it alongside Band of Brothers, in that Band of Brothers was also fantastic, but a completely different angle of the war. So you get a different vibe from either show. The aerial stuff, just incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm loving it too. I've just been busy with this book.
How dare you?
I know.
I did watch.
I go in little spurts up and down where I'm like, oh, now I want to read. Now all I would want to do is watch shows. Now I just want to play video games, kind of a thing.
I did watch a trash film, and I knew it was going to be trash, but I was excited about it because it was trending, and it was like, you know, when Netflix just throws a lot of money into something and you're like, this looks like it's going to be trash, but
so every Netflix movie?
Yeah, just about. You're like, what, they throw 50 million, 100 million at this? Like, I'll watch it just because of the production quality.
Yeah, okay.
And, it's called Damsel.
Is that the one with 11?
11. I was like, 11.
I can't remember her name. Like Millie Bobby
Brown, I think.
Yeah,
is that it?
I think that's it. Yeah. She's becoming quite the little actress in terms of popularity. She seems to be all over the place.
In terms of popularity, I agree with you. She has become quite the actress. In terms of acting skills,
yeah.
I think she needs
that's
to,
what happened. It's hard because it's like with Harry Potter, you know, you've got those actors. Some of them do very, very well.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe really stepped up his acting game. But it also
took them a while to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny because I don't like to rag on anybody who's especially a child actor who's like made their big breakout when they're 12 or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think she's a child anymore. I think she's
20 now, something like that.
Which is freaking insane because I feel like we've watched them grow up again.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
We're old now, Matt. Damsel is exactly what you would expect it to be, but just like so heavy-handed in the way they did it. I don't mind watching a fun movie, like a fantasy movie. It's the typical damsel in distress. Chick needs to get saved by the dragon, by the brave knight.
She's a badass, right?
Right, which is very obvious, but it's so obvious that not only is the movie called Damsel, and then the thumbnail for it is some like chick who's bloody and like, I'm going to kick some butt, you know?
Yeah.
But then in the opening credits, it says like, this is some fairy tales. The knight saves the girl. This is not one of those. I was like,
this is not one of those stories.
We get it. And then throughout the film, she's of course wearing a big dress at the start of it, you know, because it was like her wedding dress or something like that. And then I swear to God, there's 6 scenes of her ripping off part of the dress and fashioning it into some sort of weapon. And like the first time you're like, we get the symbolism, you know, like, okay, she was made to be all like dainty and beautiful. And now she's tearing it off and becoming a badass. 6 scenes. It was just like there's no dress left. She just keeps.
It's
so ridiculous.
Just a rag now.
I was just like, how much of this movie is just her ripping parts of her dress off to fashion a makeshift weapon?
You got to do what you got to do when you're fighting dragons. I saw like a picture. It looked like there was a dragon in it.
There was literally the twist.
It does elevate the movie.
The CG's great. I thought the CG was great. I thought the dragon was the best character. And
so it's an actual character?
Yeah. The dragon talks in it. I know. I got your attention all of a sudden. You're like, "Oh, the dragon talks."
Dude, I love dragons. I love them so much.
The dragon stuff is cool. The CG's cool. It just poorly acted, poorly written, and just there's a twist at the end that I was laughing, and you were not supposed to laugh at that part. I was like,
I was
like, I don't even understand what's happening anymore. Yeah.
Nice.
But just a lot of.
I don't know if I'll watch it just for the memes.
It's a meme worthy film. It's just basically 11 walking around being like, I'm badass because look at the look on my face. And it's like one of those movies when they decide that somebody's going to be badass, but they haven't earned it in any way. And so they just become badass. And you're like, I guess they're badass now. We don't really know why they are all of a sudden very good at everything.
So cool. Right.
It's not like there was a training mod.
Tribulations. Yeah. It was just,
It wasn't like her father trained her to be a badass warrior since childhood, and now she gets to unleash that on everybody. It just, she just now is, and you're like, okay, whatever.
And that can be fun. It can be, I get why people like that, but I don't know, not really for me.
Oh, Jason wants to know the scene I was laughing at. It was the end on the boat scene, Jason. I don't want to give anything away, but part of the premise of the film is like there's a poor nation that needs to ally with a rich nation, so they're marrying off the daughter to the rich nation so they can feed the people of the poor nation. They don't really address the concept, like what's going to happen. And I was laughing with the ending of the movie. I was like, how are they didn't resolve it? Like, is everybody just going to starve now?
Gotcha.
It's like they forgot about that whole premise and like the whole sacrifice and everything that was supposed to happen. Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was very silly. But if you like good CG and dragon stuff,
I do like dragons and especially talking dragons and wise dragons. Those are my favorite.
You know who does the voice of the dragon is the I don't remember her name, but that Indian woman who did she's in The Expanse. She's got that really old,
her voice,
raspy voice. I thought it was very good.
I know some people like her voice. I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. Apparently, like everyone else.
I think it's great for characters, but you can't do anything other than that voice. I mean,
it's very exaggerated, and she's not. It's not like she's doing it on purpose.
Is it exaggerated or is it her voice?
So I heard that she had surgery on her vocal cords, and that's why it sounds like that.
Okay.
So it's not that she's doing it intentionally, but it's just such a out there. That's not a normal voice. It's not a regular voice. It sounds like she's been smoking for 50 years, but I think it was just because she had surgery.
Yeah. Because she was smoking for 50 years.
Maybe. Maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah, maybe actually. I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't looked too deeply into it.
I get it. Yeah, you could get annoyed by it to a degree.
It's not that I get annoyed by it. I think she's a great actress. It's just
you hate her, Matt.
We'll go that far. Sure. Why not? Why not?
Why? Well, what you looking forward to? What you playing tonight?
So I might check out a new indie game coming out that looks a lot like RimWorld. It's called Norland. I think it's something. You kind of it's like a sim, not like maybe sim management thing where you are trying to keep your kingdom in line, and so it looks it's a lot like RimWorld in that respect. I might try that. We'll see.
You getting into those management games, Matt?
Yeah, I do like management. I played another
first year grocery simulator.
Yeah, I played another night of that, and it was fun. They added in reshelvers now. So
I thought you were going to say frozen peas or something.
They added So I'm now doing frozen items.
DLC.
I now have frozen shelves and refrigerators, and they're restocking for me, and it's well-oiled machine.
Dang,
I'm making money.
Because they're going to turn into like Walmart soon. Just dominate.
It's getting big. Yeah. There's the Battlefield 2042 Season 7 update, which comes out tomorrow, which I plan on playing. I saw that other content creators had access to it today, and I'm like, I didn't get access. I'm sad. Apparently, I'm not a cool kid anymore. I don't get invited to anything to Battlefield. So
yeah, you should have requested streaming access to it. But I think it's for a specific time, because if only content creators are streaming, then it's for
I think it was. I think they had like a little window. Yeah.
I did get to play it. I was just running out of time last week, and the embargo was on the same day as the Gray Zone video, and I was like, well, if I can only do one video, like there was 3 embargoed videos.
You could have posted it the next day.
I know, but I ran out of time, and I'm trying to be a family guy on the weekend, man. So
prioritizing your family.
I know, dude. I was just talking.
You call yourself a gamer?
I was just talking. So I just was talking to another game dev who, I'm a fan of the game that this guy's working on. Yeah. And he told me that he worked the first 5 years on the game, 90-hour weeks for 5 years.
Nope.
And I was like, excuse me?
There's no shot.
Insanity. Yeah. No, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to work on my game, but I'm not doing 90-hour weeks for 5 years.
You already got gray in your hair. You don't want more than that.
Yeah. No, man. So yeah, no, I had to make a choice. The new map for Season 7 is competent. Well, I don't think the second one is dropping I think it drops afterwards.
Are you kidding me?
I think so.
Don't do this to me, Level Cap.
I think
don't you dare! Don't they dare be like?
I think the stadium one comes and then like halfway later through the season or something. I know. Yeah. The new map is fine. I thought it was decent, but it is. I'm racking my brain on how it takes them. How
it seems like it's fairly basic.
It's basic, and all the buildings in it are the exact same assets from, say, some of the other maps. So, yes, there's a lot of destruction in it because they're reusing some of the Bad Company 2 buildings in the map. In fact, all the buildings I think are reused. So, I mean, I've been making a video game for the last 2 months, and I know how long it takes to make this crap.
It kind of reminds me of.
It doesn't take that long.
A mod, like it looks like kind of like a modded version of Battlefield 2042. I'm not saying it looks that bad, but it doesn't look like they really added a lot of new assets to it, which is fine. But yeah, I do agree. It is a little surprising that it takes this long to get some new content. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. They probably
don't have a lot of people working on the game right now. The fact that we're even getting to Season 7 is incredible. Like, let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's who am I to complain about getting content that was never promised in the first place? Right. But it's not something that I see and I'm like, whoa, can't wait to jump on that. Yeah, and unfortunately, I feel like most of the community feels the same way.
How was this raw?
So I don't know if this is going to make the final patch, but I don't know if there's a bug in the build I was playing or what, but they're trying to prevent rocket spam for engineers. So I believe the count of the rockets that you start off with is different from the amount that you respawn with. So you would respawn with like 2 rockets for this raw, which is like...
It's not a lot.
Not a lot. The damage wasn't... so it was neat. It was fun kind of meme killing infantry from across the map.
Yeah.
The map I played on...
helicopters.
Well, so I got in the chopper and everybody was trying to hit me and nobody could hit me with it.
Oh, no. So, I mean, it's really hard, even in like when I was decent at it in Battlefield 4. The reason why, for those of you that are not aware, Straw in Battlefield 4 at one point was like my favorite weapon in any game. I love taking out helicopters, and then they nerfed it, and then they nerfed it, and then they nerfed it.
I can't give good feedback on it because the map that we played on just had the Little Bird.
Which is impossible to hit.
Really hard to hit with a straw. Maybe it'll be much better when you're watching the VTOLs fly around, and that's when it'll shine. So it's almost impossible for me to give feedback on the straw because its intended purpose just didn't even exist on the map. I shot some people with it kind of comically. Anybody who was standing still, and you can kind of watch the missile go in, and you blow them off the side of a building or something is funny. But as far as tactically goes, I hit some tanks with it. The damage didn't seem too high, and we'll just have to see what happens with that rocket count. So I think there was either a bug during the build, or they're trying something new and engineers are just going to get less rockets, and it's going to be rough. 2
rockets is not a lot.
Not a lot, especially when I don't even know how much of the tank's health they got through.
I think that's the reason why I was playing so Crawford is one who now gets an extra rocket for some reason. So when you normally are playing as like the other engineer classes, the other engineer, you only get 2 RPGs. So with the third one, you can actually take out a tank by yourself, which is awesome. But like he's the only one who gets 3.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they might tweak a few things before the patch launches, but yeah. And then there's only a couple of new guns in it, and they're guns.
They're comparable.
The AK-5C's in it now.
And I know they adjusted the recoil. Does that feel all right?
It felt okay to me. I'm not super deep in the 2042 meta anymore, so if you're like, how'd it compare to before? I'd be like, I don't know, similar, I guess.
Yeah.
It felt fine for the most part. The AK-5C is pretty decent as a medium range laser beam. The little Scorpion SMG is, tears people up in close quarters. Put a little drum mag in there, shred them.
Shred them up.
Nothing that felt like, whoa, this is crazy. It was all kind of, it's just more 2042
standard stuff. Just more variety. I'm down for it.
Pretty standard. Yeah, we'll see what that stadium map is like when it launches one day.
I hope it's good.
The stadium's coming back, guys. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, aren't you? Actually, legitimately a little bit excited. I did like it when it was in Hourglass. Really funny that they take it out. Like everyone's like, oh, hey, they're gonna include the stadium, right, in Hourglass, right? Because that's the best part of that map. Nope.
Yeah.
Just gone. Just deleted. So to have it coming back is fun.
I'll also give DICE some credit for finally breaking away, and they've done this in some of their other DLC maps, but they didn't at first, is breaking away from having to have every single vehicle as a spawnable vehicle in every single map. I don't know if you noticed, but all the base game maps are built that way. So you can spawn an attack helicopter, a little bird, a VTOL, like every class is there, and it kind of makes the maps more bland to an extent, where you're not getting maps that feel more heavily ground vehicle focused or more heavily air vehicle focused, or there's no heavy armor in this map. It's only just transport vehicle. Like a lot of the other Battlefield games had maps like that. They've broken away from that with a lot of the later DLC maps
to balance it out.
And so this one, it was like a tank or two and then like a little bird. And I was like, that's nice. People in this little favela town aren't getting absolutely irradiated by like endless air superiority and stuff. So it was kind of nice from that aspect, where the little bird can do some stuff, but it's not gonna like ruin your day forever. You can shoot the pilot out if you really need to.
I gotcha.
So that's nice. I appreciate. It's funny because it's Battlefield 2042 really is a story of less is more. And if anything's been proving that point, it's how the game has progressed. They got rid of 128. They started reducing the amount of vehicles, all this stuff. And it's like, hey, guess what? It's playing much better now, and it's more enjoyable. For
sure.
Removing content.
And then the final, the big game that comes out this week is Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, are you excited for that?
I am. It's gonna, because it has dragons, isn't?
Is it co-op?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, it's not
so they've got like a pawn system in the game where you have like little helpers, and you will eventually be able to hire other people's pawns to help you. So I think you could have like a friend's pawn come into your party, and they could help you out. And what's cool about it is it's dynamic, where they will, if they've done a dungeon before, they'll know maybe some of the secrets of the dungeon that you may have missed along your journey, and kind of like help you out, which is cool.
That's neat. I like that. Yeah. I will say the trailer impressed me for Dragon's Dogma 2. It looks like a lot of fun.
Their character creators also bonkers. People are making some just like John Wick, Gandalf, Shadowheart. I tried making myself. Didn't do the best, but I attempted. They have like my hairline kind of going on.
Yeah.
It's pretty robust.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing that's in the Star Citizen patch is their character creator, and they announced that you'll finally be able to
hair physics.
you'll be able to save your character profile and re-import it when they like do a server wipe, which happens all the time.
Okay.
It's why nobody customizes their character, because they're like, why
spend the time?
Yeah, but I would say it's up there for one of the most robust looking character creators I've ever seen. So you might be able to actually make yourself in that. If I can make myself in it, I will.
Nice.
Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Colton on our Discord, who popped in there. We have a little Discord section for the podcast where you can post topic suggestions. He wanted to know what we thought about the Fallout trailer for Amazon.
Oh, yeah. I think it looks neat.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it actually looks pretty cool. What is the actor's name? His name is Walton Goggins. I really like that guy.
Is that the kind of bald, big forehead guy? Or yeah, he's cool.
I think he's like I don't know if he's the sheriff, but he's
something.
He looks, ever since Justified, I love Justified, that show.
Yeah.
And he didn't carry it, but he was a big contributing factor to that show being fantastic. And he just has an air about him that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And so him being a part of this project gives me at least reasonable hope and expectations. And the trailer was comparable. Like trailers lie. Trailers will always lie to you.
Sure.
But
it's their job. Make something look as cool as it possibly can be.
Mm-hmm. But it seems like they have the right idea of what makes Fallout.
Yeah.
So far.
If somebody told me that Amazon was making a Fallout show, and I think somebody probably did at some point, my interest would not be that high. But after I watched the trailer, because you're like, it's such a wild universe. How could they possibly do it justice or do it right? It's a very hard thing to do, because Fallout's got a bit of humor in it, a little bit of campiness to it, but it's also dealing with like horrific situations. So you're like, how do you thread that needle? And the show looks pretty good. They even stayed true to the power armor stuff, and it looks cool. I never thought it would look cool if they stuck with the original design, but I thought it looked pretty cool in the show.
They've made some compromises where like the helmet can open up, and I saw people complaining about it, like, oh, like just keep the helmet on. You don't need to do that. It's like, okay, it's okay. Not everything has to be identical. It's okay to make some compromises, people.
Yeah.
Not
so
everything is a problem.
Yeah.
Not everything is an issue, please.
Yeah. No, it looks cool. I'm looking forward to it. I looks like it could be really good.
Yeah.
And it's a fun premise
my fingers
too.
Crossed.
Yeah, I like the sort of 50s, 60s aesthetic of everything that they're sticking with, and the little surgeon robot that's like trying to cut people up and stuff. Looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Shall we wrap the pod there? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's good.
Right. What advice do you have for the lovely people?
My advice is going to be real simple today, and it's just be nice to people. Just be a nice guy. I'm so tired of the negativity and the goddamn internet these days. Everything's an issue. Just take a step back and think to yourself, does this matter? No? Okay.
It's also what they want you to be doing. They want you on Facebook and TikTok and Twitter complaining about weird little things and stuff, because it distracts you from the real problems. It
distracts you from the real issues.
Yeah.
Aliens. But yeah, just be nice to people.
Yeah. Jason says in chat, you know where nice guys finish, Matt?
Good. I'm glad they finished last. Because that's where I'm at. Last, baby. You can hang out with me. We'll have a good time being last together.
Yeah. It's good advice. Good advice. Be nice to everybody. Thank you guys so much for dropping by the podcast. Again, if you want to support us on Patreon, the link is in the video description, or just drop by the Discord server, leave some suggestions, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.